I guess, to you, John, after today's meeting. So it is now being recorded. So just so you guys know who I am really quickly, you guys had awesome introductions yourself. I might as well do me super quick. As you can see, my name is Steve. I'm a solutions advisor with HigherLogic. I've worked with Nancy for a while now. HigherLogic and Callan have been partners for a long time, which is awesome. It seems to be getting better and better year after year. But I've been with the organization about 2.5 years. I've seen the company grow from about 550 clients to now about 2,600, and really passionate about our software, and more importantly, helping associations really move the needle in terms of providing this tool and this platform for members that help them engage with each other and do their jobs better, and ultimately help the organization better serve their members as well. So in a nutshell, that's who I am. And then we're going to go over some goals for today. You guys probably have the floor on this more than I do. I had some ideas for how AMRPA would be able to leverage a community, but I always like to open it up at the beginning to see beyond what Nancy and what John said, if there's any particular goals you're looking to get out of today's meeting. Obviously, from what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about how online communities can help you guys facilitate that networking that you offer members as a benefit, right? But do so in a much more intuitive way. I thought about supporting your advocacy efforts, building communities around your different member calls, your events, as well as for your task forces, your committees, your board, which you have some members here on the call today, as well as an avenue to help increase any issues surrounding retention or new member growth. But I guess, John or anybody else on the call, from a 30,000-foot view, is there anything else you want me to cover today? Obviously, we're going to dive into the tools, but was there anything big picture-wise or really use case-wise you'd want me to cover, or any goals you'd like me to know for today?
Guess not.
I'll take silence as a no. Keep going. We'll just get through it. So, just so you guys know, we not only have a partnership with Callan, we also partner with Abila and integrate with their NetForum databases, which I know you guys have for your backend AMS. It's probably one of our quickest, I guess, implementations right now because the integration is pre-built, which is always advantageous, right? What's really important to know from a membership perspective when using the platform is because the integration exists, it's all single sign-on for you as members. So you log into the community the same way you log in now to pay dues. It's all one username, one password. You don't have to memorize a new set of credentials. It all works seamlessly and fluidly within your new website as well. So it's just going to be an additional platform, additional tool that members will have seamlessly integrated into AMPRA's current systems, which is always advantageous. And so you guys know for future reference, after you get the community up and running, HigherLogic does have a suite of tools surrounding marketing automation and learning management, if those are ever initiatives as a phase 2 or 3 project. And we'll talk about today some different strategies around how we can help sort of graduate you all from your social media groups, which I know is how members engage now. But any questions about anything so far, guys, or anything else you want me to sort of cover before we get started with a few PowerPoint slides here today? I know I asked before, but as people are hearing me talk, I'm just curious to see if there's any last minute questions before we went through a few more slides here. I'll take no as an answer, as a keep going, or silence as a no as well. All right, cool. So, who is HigherLogic? For those of you who don't know, we were founded in 2007. We're founded both by association executives and AMS executives, which is really, really interesting, who really understood this need for a centralized company and a centralized platform to help you all facilitate and drive member engagement. We're very much a member benefit project, a frontward-facing platform rather than a technology platform. Obviously, it's software, right? So there's technology aspects to it. But as I mentioned before, most of the technical intricacies of the platform have been built already and have been figured out. So you don't have to worry about that being sort of a hindrance. It's really going to work out of the box and be very easy to implement. We're currently supporting about 2,600 customers, including ASAE, Association Forum, and about many other similar organizations to you all, which I'm sure you'll be aware of. There's really business drivers to why organizations work with HigherLogic as well. It's not just because the platform works like we said it's going to work. It's not just because it's pretty and it does these cool things, which it does by all means, but really we help organizations move the needle, really understanding that engagement typically leads to many more outcomes that can help you guys grow as an organization. So we found that through third-party studies, the biggest reason that members aren't active in the organization, the reason members leave the organization is because they don't feel engaged within the organization. That's really the ultimate goal of HigherLogic. We're an engagement company, but we really have a lot of strategies that we do with the community to help you all grow. Growth both in membership numbers, but also growth around your annual meeting. Annual meetings are really big for associations. So let's really hone in on the power of an annual meeting and build community around that. Let's automatically put somebody in a community for an annual meeting when they register. Let's let them start networking early. Let's help them network and continue that excitement when the conference is over. Let's digitize that speaker, the video from that speaker, and be able to upload, webinar recordings from that specific event into a community, and really help create a all year round experience for one annual meeting. And that may be 1 or 2 day long, but have it extend within the community. And as you can see, the online community can help contribute to as high as 33% growth in many interests. So obviously, when you got more people to come to your conference, that's more money in your pocket and better things the organization could do year after year. If retention's ever an issue, I know it's hit or miss sometimes with trade organizations, but a community immediately can impact your retention rates. We average about an 8% increase in retention just after the first year of working with our clients. But as you can see, an online community can contribute to as high as a 35% increase in member retention, which is wildly valuable. We want to really help expand the awareness of the organization as well. We want to get the word out. We want to help you guys get more website visits to your brand new website. We want to increase SEO. We want you guys to be positioned as the go-to source for anything relative to your field. So members and non-members know where to go when they're looking for that specific piece of information, whether they get there organically or something that we do strategically leveraging the community. And then something from the staff side, intelligence. Data is everywhere these days, and really that's where everything's going when it comes to technology. Frontward tools are great, but if you don't have the data to support what's happening within those tools, then ultimately it's kind of pointless. We want to give our organizations the power to make better data-driven decisions by leveraging all of the interactions and business intelligence that your members are performing on our platform, so you can grow with the platform, so you can scale with it, and so you can better serve your members there on out. So ultimately, Higher Logic, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Real Magnet or Informs from previous experiences within the association space, but we acquired those companies last year, and that really positioned ourselves as a lifecycle engagement platform. We're obviously going to focus on the community suite on the right side of the screen today, but really marketing automation and community blend together into one cohesive system. The idea is that you leverage email marketing / marketing automation to deliver content to get your users to do something. Whether it's register for an event, join an organization, volunteer for a committee, you leverage marketing automation to deliver that content in the hope of converting that person to do what you want them to do. When they do convert, how do we keep that person engaged? Well, that's where the community really comes through. They engage within the community, they build connections, they collaborate on industry issues or legislation issues, they learn, they build loyalty, and this is all unified into one platform that's fully integrated into your database, your AMS, which is wildly advantageous. This combination happens over and over again, and ultimately Higher Logic can be your go-to partner behind engagement and behind frontward interactions of members, which is really what we're focusing on. So this is a similar representation of that last graph, right? But really what we're focusing on today is the online community. I'll describe a few of these features here. I'll pause for questions. We might go over some things from the right, but really where we're going to focus on our time today is the core features you see on the left side of the screen. Within Higher Logic, you think about leveraging and using a community as a member. The first thing that you're going to do as a member is you're going to interact by participating in a discussion group. That's an intuitive arena within your new website where members can post questions, start conversations, and they can either do so from the website or they can do so directly from their email too. We take what's good about an old school listserv and that email functionality and we blend it into the community. So you can be on the phone, on the road, on your smartphone, seeing these conversations happening, engaging from your phone, or obviously being logged into the community, you can have a much more dynamic experience. That's where engagement starts. But we support resource sharing. It can be your board of directors community uploading meeting minutes or all of your webinar recordings for members only in a specific topic-based communities. Any valuable documents can be stored in a designated resource library. We have directories where members can search and find one another. These are where their profiles are held, where members can see, hey, Nancy answered my question. I don't know anything about Nancy. Let me go check out her profile or search for her and really understand where she's coming from and what her background is. That's really, really valuable to build those connections that members may or may not have had before the community existed. We support blogs and wikis. We have calendars, which come over as part of the standard integration from NetForum. Everything is 100% responsive, modern looking, works on any device, anywhere, at any time. We have automation rules, which I'll talk about here and again in a few minutes. The automation rules are really a game changer for us in the entire industry in terms of helping all of our clients manage the day-to-day of the community and automating much of those once manual processes. We talked about data. That's the analytics and reporting in the back end. Gamification is really cool. It's a way to reward your members for doing different things within the community, having something fun like a most active members board or giving somebody digital badges or ribbons for when they attend your annual meeting. But ultimately, the core features are on the left. That's a culmination of tools that really embodies a community. And it's that simple place where essentially people start to begin interacting in a community. I want to pause, did anybody have any questions on the core features on the left side of the screen so far? Cool. So just so you guys know, for future reference, we do have a bunch of different optional modules we can go to and tour at any time. We have a really popular, I guess, some of my personal favorites around the optional modules are the mentoring platform we have called Mentor Match. Helps facilitate that relationship between mentors and mentees who look like a perfect fit. A lot of associations have a mentoring program, but typically it's pretty manual where you have members email somebody and they try to match them up. Well, this takes care of all of that manual processes, digitizes it, automates it in a way that makes sense. We have a lot of different things we can do with learning management, volunteer management, event management. Content manager is essentially microsites for you to build out, sites for your different, maybe if you have chapters or events, whatever it might be. But a lot of different optional modules on the right. Did anyone have any questions on the right side of the screen? Or I'm assuming we're just going to focus on the core today, Nancy.
So John, do the volunteers have an interest in seeing the additional modules at the end? And those would be things like a mentoring module or a volunteer manager module. So far, what we're rolling out in the first phase is just the core features.
Okay.
I think let's just focus on the core features. That looks like plenty of conversation items there.
Sure. Gotcha.
And
we'll keep
Steve,
it focused.
just so you know that AMRPA does use what'd you call it? The email platform. Yes, correct. Sorry about that. We do use that. So for the AMRPA members on the phone,
okay,
that email template that you see for our off the record, for our webinar emails, our conference marketing emails, that's all integrated here within the Higher Logic platform company.
Informs. Cool. Gotcha. Very good to know. Definitely, you have a good tech stack so far. I can say that for sure. But cool. Yeah, we'll keep things focused on the core features for now. To give you a little bit of a deeper representation of 2 slides ago in terms of where marketing automation and community bleed together, this is just the community, and this is how we see sort of a journey mapping for a member. I discussed how engagement starts with discussions and dynamic activity feeds. Those activity feeds are the latest conversations or things happening inside the community that I belong to when I log in as a member. Again, because we're integrated with your database, our system knows when you log in who you are. That's really valuable. We'll expose personalized content to you through the form of activity feeds and other really relative things that makes your experience unique, which is really, really cool as a member, right? You don't have to dig for content because when you do, you're going to get discouraged. You're not going to dig for much longer. But after engaging, you're building connections. You're searching for people you met at the annual meeting. You're collaborating. You're learning. You're building loyalty. You're leveraging automation from the staff side to keep the cycle going and going. And again, this is truly one unified platform that integrates into your system. So I wanted to explain the automation rules because I do this in every demo. They're really, really important. And the reason I really dive into these is because this is really going to help, from a staff perspective, you all manage the community. It's going to help you guys guarantee like member onboarding, continuous engagement, and really help you manage the small things that really no other platform helps you manage, which is really, really valuable, right? So think about the automation rules as our own native marketing automation tool built into the back end of the core product. And these automation rules come mostly in the form of emails that go directly to members to get them to do something specific. And these rules really operate on being able to send the right message to the right member at the right time, depending on who that specific member is and the activities they either have or have not taken within the community. So let's say you guys get your new website up and running alongside the brand new community. How are we going to ensure that members actually log in and use the community? Well, one of our most popular automation rule campaigns is onboarding new members. So let's say, John, we just launched the community, or John, you just joined the organization for the first time. How do we get you involved? Well, because we're going to be leveraging our best practices around our automation rules, you're going to get a welcome email, like you would with any organization, saying, hey, John, welcome to the community. These are this is an area specifically built for you to interact and collaborate with your peers. Click here to log in. John, you're a busy guy. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days go by. You actually haven't logged in yet. We're going to send you another message. Maybe it's coming from someone else this time who is a manager of the community saying, hey, John, still notice you haven't logged in yet. Look at this specific conversation going on. I thought you'd be interested in this. Click here to log in and introduce yourself. John sees this. It's a personalized message. He's drawn back by it. He clicks. He logs in for the first time, and he introduces himself to the community. He's taking that first step along this commitment curve, which you guys see on the screen. Wonderful. Maybe a day or two go by. We send John another message saying, hey, John, notice you haven't updated your profile picture. Your first post was great. Look at the stats behind it. But you're 40% more likely to get a response to your post if you had a profile picture. Click here to do that. The idea is that when John's a new member or he's just logged into the community for the first time, we're going to slowly work him up this commitment curve. We're going to do small calls to action, but over time, we're going to see how experienced John is, how active he is in the community. We might ask him after 5 years or so to volunteer in a community. We're not going to ask that, or volunteer in a committee. We're not going to ask that brand new member to do that. But the idea is that we figured out the map in which it takes, or what a member might or might not do within the community. We'll automate a lot of these workflows so members log in over time. We can send them a We Miss You campaign. We can let members know to come back into the community when event registration opens or when that webinar recording was uploaded. Saves you guys from a staff perspective a ton of time because you don't have to reach out to members manually to get them to do things. It has much of the, almost like having a personal assistant do much of the manual work for you, which is really that you can guys focus on you can focus now on the big picture. You don't have to focus on the small things, and it really helps convert in terms of members actually getting them to do what you want them to do. So it really helps. Quick example of what a campaign might look like here. Assuming you guys are familiar with ASAE, really, I don't like going into, I guess, stories with Calendar clients because I know you guys are familiar with the industry, but I really like to bring up ASAE because they're really a great example of what value a community can bring, not just to your members, but also the organization and the bottom line. So ASAE has a community called Collaborate. Some of you may or may not be members, but the idea is that the Collaborate community for ASAE drives a ton of both monetary and intrinsic value for their members. So they actually found that if you were active on their community, the Collaborate community, you had a 24-point higher net promoter score. That means that you recommended the community and you recommended ASAE more than somebody who wasn't active in the community. They found that if you were active, you also spent more money. I think 5 times more money. On average, about 54% of Collaborate users spend $3,000 or more on non-dues items. So those community users spent more money on event registration, buying books. They did more in the community, so they spent more within the organization, which is always valuable. And they actually found that they recommended membership to non-members more frequently than those who didn't use the community as well. So the community drove happiness and more money in the organization's pocket, which is always great. A lot of options you guys will have in terms of education. We don't just give you software, and other Calendar clients can attest to this and say, hey guys, good luck. We do a lot to support you. We understand what your goals are. We understand who your members are and what you're trying to do with the community. We develop unique community strategy, and then we educate you around all of these best practices. We give you access to Hierologic Academy, which is an online training and in-person training we do here in Virginia. Once a month, it's like a 2-day boot camp, all about community. We have a Hierologic users group, the HUG, which is our own support community, our own client community, where you can bounce ideas off of other clients, discuss strategy, answer technical questions, and all those wonderful things you might want to do within a user's community. Then we have our own super forum, which Nancy, I believe, comes to, and then other things we do with our customer success team. We have a complete team here that devotes their time to making sure our customers are successful. So a lot of things that we do to make sure that you guys don't just have a community, but a thriving one that helps you achieve real business outcomes. So definitely more of a partner than just a software vendor here. So guys, thank you for bearing with me with the PowerPoint. Anyone have any questions before I transition from the PowerPoint to the software? All right. So, break out of this. You all should be seeing AMRPA's current website on the screen now. Is that coming in clearly?
No.
Yeah. Is it not coming in clear for someone?
Not coming in at all. I just reloaded though.
Okay, we'll give it a moment. Everyone else is seeing it?
Got it.
Perfect.
I'm seeing it.
Had to refresh.
All right, cool. So this is the community site that I built out for you guys earlier today. Keep in mind, you guys have complete flexibility over what your community actually looks like. These are just some things in terms of colors, logos, the name of the community. This is some things I chose as someone who really doesn't know any better. You guys have the flexibility over the way this page and this community looks and feels, what the navigation and sub-navigation reads, so don't get too drawn up into the design. That's just what I put together today in my demo site. Your community can look different if you so please. So first thing to note is that I'm logged in already as Steve the member here in the top right corner. Again, everything is single sign-on due to the integration with NetForum, so I've logged in the same way I've been logging in ever since I've been a member. It's all fluid and easy. The idea around a successful community, and I sort of alluded to this before, is that you need to expose interesting and relative content to me as a member right when I log in from the beginning. If I don't see interesting and relative information on this homepage here, then I'm not going to have a really good experience. I'm going to have to dig for content. I don't want to dig for content because chances are when members dig for things, they're not going to dig for very long. They're going to go elsewhere. to get their information. They're going to go back to those social media groups. They're going to go to another forum to get their information. That's sort of going to be like a land grab for members. So we personalize this experience from the get-go. We expose relevant information. Here's an activity feed. This is the latest discussions from communities that I, as Steve the member, specifically belong to. So if I belong to the board of directors or the membership committee or this event community committee, I'm going to see conversations from those groups because that's what makes sense for me. I want to see those conversations. The system knows who I am, so it's going to welcome me back. We're going to highlight something fun like a member of the month. But on this homepage, we want to make it very easy for members to do significant but basic things right from this page. So maybe I'm going to set up my profile for the first time. This will be really key during the onboarding process, giving your members a simple 1, 2, 3, 4-step process to get involved. Maybe I'm going to start a discussion, share a file or document to the resource library of my choosing, connect with my peers. This will route me to the directory where I can search and find Nancy, that person I met last week at the annual meeting, but we didn't exchange business cards. I can search for her here, and then we can continue that conversation we had. HireLogic is a very, very flexible platform here. We have an open API, so we can pull in third-party applications. We can embed your various social media feeds. We can promote the community within these outlets in order to get any of those members who are still on those pages into the community. And there might even be non-members on these pages as well, potentially, and we can leverage the community as a way to draw those folks in. You have the full flexibility of essentially of an entire website platform here. So you can pull in different videos. You have flexibility over what exactly your page looks like. You'll see a list of upcoming events here. These are upcoming events, again, relative to me as Steve the member. I'm seeing events on my calendar based on the communities that I belong to and the committees I might belong to as well. Here's an example of gamification down here, a most active members board. People within literally HireLogic here who have accumulated points for doing things within their demo sites. That's a real life example. If you have any competitive members like I am, I'm kind of irked that I'm not on this list right now. So I enjoy being on this list. When I'm not on it, I do more things. That's just one example of gamification, and we'll dive into more later. If you guys want to sell advertising space as a means to monetize the community and oftentimes offset the investment of HireLogic, here's an advertising slot. You guys can place advertisements within the community, within discussion posts, and it's a great way to highlight your sponsors as well. And typically, they love the space more than just your website because they know they're getting in front of potential consumers, which is something you guys can or you don't have to do, but just some options there for you. All right, so communities. You guys will be able to build as many individual communities as you'd like. You guys have unlimited members on our platform, and you can have unlimited communities, which is really great. You can have a community as an open forum. It's one of our best practices where all members can come and talk around general topics. You can have a community for each of your committees, the board of directors, topic-based communities, task forces, whatever it is. You have that flexibility. Each one of these communities can have a unique security setting around them as well. Part of the integration is understanding security groups. The only way I would access the board of directors is if I was serving on the board of directors, because the board of directors will probably be a private community. If I was not serving on the board of directors, I wouldn't even know this community existed, wouldn't be an option for me. The open forum, that might be truly open. It's where all members can come. You can even have semi-private communities as well. Say we're trying to find new folks to serve on the membership committee. This can be a semi-private community. Yes, we want people to join this, but we just don't want anyone to join it. We want to make this semi-private, so when I attempt to enter it, I have to say who I am. We know who they are, but then you guys can decide whether to keep that person, allow them in or not allow them into that specific group, and that would be a semi-private community. So you have varying levels of flexibility and security around each one of your communities. As an example, we'll dive into the all-member open forum. So, looks somewhat similar to the main homepage, but again, a community built for this specific group of people. As this example, it's the open forum. So within this community, you're seeing latest discussion posts, latest discussions that have been happening most recently within this group. You're seeing the latest shared files. It's really, really super easy to upload a file. All I have to do to hit upload a file is hit upload file. Pulls in this intuitive tool here where I can drag and drop documents from my computer, my desktop, choose files from my computer if I so please. Choose from all these resources as well. Dropbox, Google Drive, Instagram, Gmail. You can even record videos, audio, or even take a picture. As an example, I'm going to take a picture really quick. I'm in a small meeting room here in Arlington, Virginia, and this is me talking to you all. Looks pretty goofy, but just to give you an example. Now that file has been uploaded within a matter of seconds. Really, really easy. And that can be a Word document, PDF, any file pretty much under the sun. You'll see here that we have a download the community V card. You might be wondering what that is. This gives me the ability to easily start discussions straight from my email inbox. You might be wondering what that looks like. Well, when I download this community vCard, the system, the community, produces a unique email address that I can then save to whatever email tenant I use. As an example, John, you'll see that I created a user for you earlier today, pulled in some content and a picture. This can be a video, it can be whatever you might want to be, it can be an audio recording. But this happened about an hour ago within this community. But let's say I wasn't behind my desk. Say I want to be involved in the community. I want to see what was going on even if I didn't have time to log in. The beauty about Higher Logic is, again, we blend what's good about an old school listserv and we bake it into the community. You can see here that at 2:27 Eastern Time this afternoon, I got an email from the community, more specifically from the open forum. Better yet, I can see that John posted that issue with that cool picture from the Capitol, and now I'm involved. Say John had a question or needs somebody to contribute to the conversation, and hey, I knew that answer. All I have to do to get involved is either hit reply to group, reply to sender, or just hit reply with an Outlook. As Outlook does, it'll start a new email, and I can post my reply from email, which is really, really easy. I hit send, and in about 10 seconds or so, that reply from email will populate perfectly underneath John's original post as if I was logged in. That can be from your smartphone, from anywhere. We want to make it easier to engage, not put up barriers. When I am logged in, I have more options, as you can imagine. I can see John's post here. You'll see in a second that I'm going to get an email. Not that email. But anyway, I can like this post. When I like this post, I can see other members who have liked this post. I can choose to reply to this discussion, which I'll do in a second. I can promote this post. I can pin this post to the top. If this is a string of answers to a question, I can mark an answer as the best answer, and then it'll get moved to the top and more searchable. I can also mark this as inappropriate. For some reason, I thought John's post was wildly inappropriate, for whatever reason that might be. As a member, I can mark it as inappropriate. When I do that, that post gets taken down in real time. Someone on the staff gets notified and saying you have a new item in your moderation queue, come check it out, and now the staff can decide whether to keep that post up or take it down. Or I can simply just hit reply to the discussion. And I could say something along the lines of, thanks again. We do have @mentions similar to Twitter. So I can find John here, and I can send this off. Now John's going to get an email saying you were mentioned in the conversation, come check it out. And not only can you see that reply, you can also see my reply from email and my reply from the community, all in one centralized place. No matter where these discussions are happening, whether from email, whether from the community itself, we store and archive all these various discussion posts. So you can see a long list of conversations that I've had within my demo environment. And all of these words now are searchable. So if I type in something relative to, I don't know, Canadian economic growth, and I put that in my search bar here, you better believe that conversation is going to pop up. Well, as an example, let's say I'm looking for something tax related. I type in tax within my search criteria here. And now I can see everything related to tax within the community. We support a similar Amazon-style faceted search, so I can refine my search as well. But you better believe if I'm searching for something, I'm going to find it. What's really cool about Higher Logic in 2018 and late 2017 is that when you guys get your new website up and running, we have something called external search available. External search allows you to search for items, not just within your community, but within your website as well. And that's something we do pretty often now. It's really cool. So members search within the community search bar, they can actually pull things from your website. So if we go back to the community, you'll see that this discussion post right here has a paperclip associated with it. That's when somebody uploads a document with their discussion post. You can see that for some reason, Nancy, I don't know if you know Greg, he uploaded a picture within the community. And there's a few things I can do with this. You can see that this is the first version of that. I can download this for myself. I can manually add tags and keywords as well. The cool thing is that if Greg uploaded not a goofy picture of himself, but a document that had content inside of it, like a Word document, our system automatically looks inside of that document and pulls keywords automatically, which helps drive searchability. If I want to see all the documents in the library, I can just hit back to library. It'll take me to a list of the most recent documents, that picture I took before. What I like to look at this, what I prefer to look at the library is more of a folder view. So now I can see all the various documents that have been uploaded, and we can support as many folders and subfolders as you'd like. These can be webinar recordings, meeting minutes from a board of directors meeting, and you can organize them in a way that makes sense. Any questions so far, guys? Cool. I'm going to navigate over to a profile. So obviously, each one of your contacts within NetForum is going to get their own individual unique profile within HireLogic. As part of the integration, we can carry over demographic information. So members don't have to start from scratch when it comes to building their profile. We can automatically pull over their profile picture. They can obviously also change their picture as well. We can update who they are, their education. All the demographics you have within NetForum can be pulled over to the HireLogic profile. But chances are, there's going to be things within the profile in HireLogic that you don't know about your members. So you can have ad hoc interests as well, or ad hoc demographics that you want to know about your members that they can add here. Again, that can happen a lot automatically, but there's some things you might want to know as an organization about your members that you haven't known before. Members can sync up their LinkedIn profiles to make it easy as well. What's really cool is that as a member, if I were to go update my contact information, I can change that here. The reality is that when I update my contact information within HireLogic, that change is automatically reflected within NetForum as well, and vice versa. So it's all one true fluid system. There's no discrepancies in data. It all works together. You'll see some examples of gamification here. Everyone in this room, when you launch the community, should have a badge representing the fact that you serve on the board, or you serve on the committee, or you're a chair on the committee. Let's recognize you for being an awesome member. When you answer somebody's question and they come check out your profile and they see that you're serving in all these various groups, that's going to help validate you in the answer that you provided. It's a great way to recognize you as an awesome member as well. If you want to see where I spend my time within the community, you can look at my summary page, my contribution summary. This tells me that Steve has about 15,000 engagement points. How many engagement points does he have? How many contributions does he have? What's his reputation? Where does he spend his time versus discussion posts and library entries? If I click on this, it actually showed me the latest library entries that I uploaded. One was today. You can also see how much more I need to do to get my next achievement or contribution badge here. We can also see what my achievements are. When somebody earns a professional designation, like their CAE, or they volunteer for a long time, or they went to your annual meetings. You know how at annual meetings you have a lanyard with your name on it and you have all these badges and flair? Well, let's digitize that and put that on their profile. Let's recognize them for doing something great. And there's just some examples that we've done. You can create your own badges or use ours. You can see who my contacts are as well. My contacts are essentially my approved friend list or connection list within the community. All of these folks say they know me. I can message these folks. I can remove Jeff as a contact for some reason he, did something wrong to me, whatever it might be. But inherently, we want to make it very easy for members to expand their network as well. If we go to my networks tab here, I can literally see buckets of people who, based on demographics, are similar to me. I can see all the other 17 members who have my certification. I can see all the other 2 members that have my job title. I can see all those folks who work at my company, but I may or not be connected with within the community. You guys can assume the buckets of demographics you want to have here to make it easy for members to connect and expand their networks professionally. So if I click on the other 15 members within the community here that belong to HireLogic, these are all folks that work at HireLogic. Hey, Grant serves on that committee too. Why hasn't he accepted my request yet? I can see what's going on with Grant. So one other thing I want to show you as well, when I was showing you the email functionality before, I was showing you emails in terms of a real-time email, meaning that anytime a conversation's happened in that community I was in, I got a real-time email. Members may not want an email every time that something happens, right? They don't want to get inundated more so than they're already getting inundated. The beautiful part about HireLogic is that our best practice is subscribing all of your members to a daily digest, 1 email per day. The members have that flexibility at the end of the day as well. These are all the various communities I belong to and the settings I have in place for how often I get emails when conversations are happening. So members can decide that they want no email for a community, a real-time email, a daily digest email, or even a weekly digest email. They have the flexibility. Members can also easily search and find one another. Our directory is really cool. I know when you think about a directory, it sounds pretty plain Jane and pretty boring, but really it's an easy way to have members find each other. Within our directory, we have a simple search, right? First name, last name. We also have much more deeper search functionality. So I can search for all the members who belong to my community. I can search for all members who have similar interests that I do, have that certification that I've earned. Better yet, I can find members who are located near me in my immediate area. I can type in my zip code here. Arlington, Virginia is 22209. And when I type that in, the system automatically embeds a Google map, and it can literally see on a map where other members are located in my immediate area, which is really cool. To show you guys some live examples real quick, this is the International Association of Rehab Professionals. Thought it was somewhat relative, obviously a professional society. It's the Association of Rehab Nurses. And then just some different look and feels, American Public Health Association, other organizations. But one thing I want to show you as well is one of the resources you're going to have, which is amazing, the Higher Logic Users Group. And the biggest thing to kind of show you for initially is that when you have access to this, this might be a good example of what your website experience might look like. Notice that I'm not logged in as a member yet. This might be your new website when you launch it. Through a website, you might see public things like blogs, upcoming events, different communities. I can see active members here, but I can't see their faces or anything like that. But when I do log in, similar to how they might log in on your website when it's up and running, to log in with my staff login real quick. Notice how when this loads that the user experience from a non-member to a member almost drastically changes. Now I'm seeing fresh content. Now I'm seeing all about the GDPR webinar. Now I'm seeing upcoming events relative to me. And now I'm seeing the faces on those members and exactly where they're coming from. And that's the difference between authenticated and a non-authenticated user. We can recognize that and then expose relative content based on who that person is. But ultimately, guys, that was pretty much everything I wanted to show you in the core platform. Can't really show you automation rules too much, but when you guys begin implementing Higher Logic, automation rules are something you're going to want to really take seriously and leverage, aligned with our best practices. But pretty much that was everything I wanted to show you in terms of the platform. I'd love to hear what your questions are and what your thoughts are, and honestly, any opinions you have on the platform as it stands today.
So this is Rich Catherines. It seems like to set this up, it's going to take a sort of a massive amount of work to get all the profiles in, or do people set up their own profile, or even just managing the web page itself? Or can you give me some sense for workload?
Sure. It's not going to require as much work as you think. The NetForum Pro integration and implementation process is really smooth at this point. We probably, and
sorry, Steve, let me just kind of interject.
Sure.
In case everyone on the call isn't familiar. So NetForum Pro is the database or AMS system that AMRPA uses, where all the volunteer and member data is stored. So we already have that data in the database, you know, name, contact information, attendance at events, committee or board participation. All that data is stored in the member database, and through an integration or connecting the two products, it can flow seamlessly over in an automated way to the community software.
Right. And Rick, yes, it would be a lot of work if the integration wasn't in place. Sorry, go ahead.
That's helpful. So the next piece to that in terms of workload is sort of monitoring, I forget what you called it, but sort of the work groups or whatever they are, or anyway, the different divisions, I guess. And
sure.
Somebody needs to sort of monitor that stuff in terms of the communication and all that kind of stuff, or no?
So
the dialogue that's going on?
Yeah. So our best practices are, obviously, the more you put into a community, the more you get out of it. But typically, since you guys have a lot of volunteers, spread the workload. Usually it's about a half of a full-time employee managing the community. There's moderation built in to help understand, you know, if there's something inappropriate.
Well,
it rarely happens.
When you say when you say a half of a community, half of an FTE for a community, so would AMPR represent in total a community?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Steve, I think the question is, are you saying that a half of a person is needed to manage the entire higher logic system, or each individual community that's set up will require a half of a person's time?
The former. Typically, it's a half a person doing the entire thing. That's on average, right? The more we suggest putting as many resources into as you can, but you're not going to need a team of 30 people to manage this. And that's where, when I was sort of stressing the automation engine before, that's really where a lot of those smaller things are going to help. But typically, it's one half of a person, sometimes two people managing the community. It's really not going to change the structure of your organization, how you manage your day-to-day. You don't need one person per community by any means.
Yeah, and it kind of, this is Nancy, it depends on how you set this up. I mean, there's a little more work, frankly, to get started, and there is a little bit. I mean, it's launching a new product, and so it does bring work with it. But, you know, ideally, once you get the community up and going, and we have, you know, probably 6 to 8 Kellen clients using the platform today, they could kind of speak to what the mix is. But ideally, it's volunteers doing things like maybe jumping in and answering posts to get started, and, you know, following up on the sort of subject matter expert questions. Once the integration's in place and people are signed in, there's not as much staff work to do, because the community should become sort of self-managing and self-policing.
Exactly. What Nancy is referring to is like getting to a community optimization. Eventually, over time, the content inside of the community will be purely member-driven, moderation as well. But right, in the beginning, it's going to require more of a bit of a heavier lift. And a lot of that is typically taken on responsibilities of like board members or committee members. We have best practices around like content schedules, post this question now and answer it, just to kind of, you know, you don't want to go to a community and be the first one there. It's like a party, right? You want to go to a party where it's already, you know, loud and fun. We have a lot of that as part of an implementation process, so that members come to the community for the first time, it's already loud, it's already fun. And then the seamless transition to get involved takes a little bit of time, but again, as Nancy said, over time, the workload on the staff will become less, because the community would be more self-sustaining, if that makes sense.
And Steve, it's okay if this doesn't fit in with the advocacy effort, but did you mention earlier that this could help AMRPA's government relations and advocacy effort, or is it really just for kind of creating conversations about various policies and those kind of things?
I mean, Nancy might be able to speak a little bit more to what Kellen clients have done, but it's a blended solution, right? You have the flexibility to do both. You can build communities around different programs and give your members a voice to be able to collect around you know, a particular issue, but a lot of it is having conversations around a change or around something that's happening within the industry. So it can be both, but that's really kind of what we'll do during the implementation process, to understand what your possible outcomes in terms of community configuration might look like. And we'll understand that and make changes and make suggestions depending on that. But it's really kind of whatever you would like it to be. That's how flexible the platform is. I don't know, Nancy, if you have any other perspective around that.
If Mimi's on the call, I'd be curious to get her thoughts. And I mean, I'm not up to speed necessarily on everything AMRPA is doing on advocacy, but I can imagine how you might use this, certainly to reach out to members, to have a platform for discussing advocacy issues, for sharing, you know, the latest developments in a timely way, for sharing documents, getting people's comments on things. And you can structure the communities themselves in different ways. You could have one just, you know, community just related to advocacy. You can have different topics. You could have regional or specialty, you know, communities for specialty institutions, that kind of thing. I don't know, Mimi, if you're on, do you have any additional thoughts?
I don't at the moment. Perhaps maybe like some other people on the call, just trying to get my feet wet and understanding higher logic a little bit better, and the services that that is offered, which sounds like an entire suite of engagement and communication services, and how those would work for and support and, improve AMRPA's communications and the advocacy that results from that communications. It certainly any tool that allows us to touch so many people at once is a great tool for advocacy purposes, and just, on our end to better understand exactly how we can use them, leverage them, and then how they can serve our purposes. I did have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a little bit change of topic, so if we want to wrap this up, I don't want to steer us away from this.
I have time, so I don't know if everyone else has a hard stop at 4 p.m. Eastern, but I've allocated time afterwards, assuming there might be questions, but I think you could fire away.
So this page that you're pulling up right here, the AMRPA Connect sample page, if you scroll down a little bit, the latest discussion and the learning content, things like this, when it comes to the actual content that will be engaging members on a home page per se, and maybe this question also is for John, Ferraro, Nancy, and Eric, is what type of content would that be for AMRPA, and who generates that, and how, and then a follow up is, how does that integrate with our existing communications platform with Informs? Does it not? But to the first part of my question is, who is generating this content?
Good question, and I guess after I'm done speaking,
that's more of, I think, a question for Kellen's communication folks that are on the call.
Sure. And I could speak towards what we do as well in conjunction with that, but that might be a good place to start.
So this is Eric. I mean, I think once we get things up and running, we'll have to work out the details of how we're going to cross-post content, because there's clearly some things like webinars that are going to need to be posted here as well as on the regular part of the website. So.
And one thing I will say to that is that part of the implementation process is developing content schedules. So that's when we're building this with you all, understand what type of open-ended content or questions we might start in the beginning in order to get people talking. But there might be things, like you said, Eric, as the webinar, or things that how they're communicating now that you'll systematically place within there, but eventually that content will be member content. It's very much, and something that kind of piggybacks off what we were talking before, it's a three-way communications portal. Yes, it's member to member, but it's also association to member and member to association. That's why it's a blended approach with advocacy, as well as conversations and outreach the other way. But we'll help sort of start the content, but over time, members are going to be driving that content beyond the things that you standardly sort of push out to them. And that's, again, part of the discovery process when implementing this, exactly what that might look like. And that's going to change over time too, right? The members are going to have an influence on what exactly is being talked about, because it's going to be their tool eventually.
Yeah, and I would say for other Kellen clients who've launched the platform, it can meet a lot of communication or collaboration needs. So part of the launch process is deciding, where do we start? How do we roll this out, and how do we get people involved? So that might be something, the exact uses for advocacy might be something we need to figure out, and we start with kind of launching a main community for everybody, or looking at kind of, whatever your chief needs are to start connecting your members more, and building the cross-member connections, and then even connections from, the organization out to members. And it really follows from there. Whatever the first connections are and business goals you have, and then we'll tailor the design of the communities to that. And as they grow, as Steve was saying, your members kind of tell you, hey, here's how we want to use this tool to communicate. And the goal is to make it really easy for them to get in there and see who other members are and see what the work of the organization is, and then be able to respond to that. So whether it's in, communities around your meetings, document libraries where you're sharing standards or allowing members to share their standards, things like that, those are the kinds of decisions that the launch process helps the organization work through and kind of figure out where to start.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
this is why in redesigning a website and reorganizing the content and the design, if a company or if an organization knows that they're going to use a product like this, you can see the tight relationship between the website and the community. So we hope to understand the role of the community on the website and what they see when they come to the website, how they sign in, and have the communications and design folks kind of work that out ahead of time, so it's a holistic experience for everybody.
Yep, that's perfect. Typically, community is sort of almost like a backbone of the overall web experience for members especially. But you can also leverage some of the community content in a public fashion as well, and that's a strategy. If you're interested in sort of getting unique visitors, SEO increases, those type of things as well. There's a lot of flexibility, but definitely go hand in hand with the web experience overall, like Nancy said.
So in terms of a website redesign, the overall website, like this is, I think the way you put it as like this is a back-end additional forum that allows engagements currently not on our website. So it's an additional feature, but in terms of the website redesign, there's still a whole other part of the website, the amrpa.org, that redesign is still going to happen and may or may not, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like that website redesign for the public non-member facing content is still going on, and this happens to be an additional like a feature and additional value added to the membership to be able to engage like this.
Correct. That is correct. And so part of what the web redesign project in tandem with designing and launching the community will do is understand what is the new experience on the website once it's redesigned for people who are either non-members, what happens if they're members and they sign in, where did they find kind of their stuff, and how do they access this additional benefit. You can also use a tool like this to, and you can make portions of it available to non-members. Sometimes people use that as a recruiting tool if there's appropriate discussions for non-members to be included in that kind of thing. But yes, you're right, Mimi, that it's the website redesign is the bigger umbrella project, and we want to think about and fit the community design into that.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, okay. This is Rich. Just following up on Mimi's point. So is Higher Logic also working on the overall AMPRA webpage design? Is that part of your engagement or no?
No, that's Kellen is working on the strategy, design, and building of the new site. Higher Logic is the software that's the community, and then the two teams will work together to get that bridge in place.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is Gail. If I'm hearing this correctly, Kellen is, and I just want to repeat it because I was a little confused by this whole thing before. Kellen is redesigning the entire website in terms of content, look, feel, branding, the whole 9 yards. As part of that, Higher Logic is creating, with the software, a sort of smaller little niche part of the website for members to connect with one another. They're creating that community within the website. Correct? Okay.
That's good. You hit the nail on the head.
So, it's really all about the dialogue that takes place then, member to member, member to association, association to member, as you pointed out, in conjunction with those bigger issues that may be presented, discussed, the legislative issues, some of the advocacy issues, operational matters that we've talked about being part of the new website, because that's what our audience is looking for, audiences are looking for. And this is, again, like a supplement to that, adjunct, however, whatever term you want to use, correct?
In my mind, and Nancy, you can have your 2 cents on this. The platform facilitates the interaction, right? It facilitates an avenue for the members to have the conversation. And you all as staff can influence, use that content to influence whatever you'd like, right? And the idea is that we facilitate it, we provide the platform for it in order to help you guys make decisions based on the conversations and things happening and what members are doing with inside the community that they can then inherently influence other content that you all might control on the main website.
Okay.
So I'm just speaking out loud here, like as an example of how, speaking from the policy side, I would see like taking advantage of this type of thing, like would be say the recent therapy caps change. AMRPA and policy staff on the AMRPA website and through OTR, we would, let's just say on the website, we would communicate to members that this policy change has occurred, and public to everybody, not behind, just public document would be a CMS document or to legislation, and we would post a resource to that, and that would be public because it's public domain information. But then a sub part of that, you could say for another, like a link that says, and here's how AMRPA members are talking about it, and you, if you're a member and you've logged in on the AMRPA website, you can get taken to a community through Higher Logic that is talking about that AMRPA members, in which they're talking about how they're operationalizing the therapy cap and what the policy change means for their hospital daily practices. So that's, and so anybody jump in to correct that kind of visualization of how this may support our communications and the services we provide to the membership. Just linking like a policy, some of the bread and butter, at least what I do, and to how this platform could support the membership with that.
Yeah, I mean, Mimi, this is Nancy. I think that's a perfectly reasonable scenario that could happen. You're posting to and maintaining messaging, news, content on the website, and facilitating discussion, collaboration, behind the secure login on the community. It does allow you to post documents as well in the community. So some clients do choose to put a lot of their documents into the community itself. That's a decision we'll kind of go through and working through the redesign. But yeah, you're right. That's exactly what you can do, is encourage that discussion. At a previous association, a healthcare association that I worked at that used Higher Logic, a big need was for members to share policies and standards and suggestions for how they implemented a rule or procedure. And that was one of the big uses of the community. So rather than each member having to draft their own hospital policy, somebody would volunteer their policy and you could take it and copy it, or, have a conversation about how's this part of it working or not working. Yeah, it can be anything from an official top-down communication tool to, imagine the conversations that happen at a meeting or a face-to-face event, facilitating those online.
Exactly. Any other thoughts or questions?
Well, this was helpful in at least getting us to understand all of the various features and opportunities. You mentioned some other resources that we may be able to look through to help us implement it. Is that something that we would have access to now, or should we wait until closer to the summer when we're a little farther along?
Oh, maybe I can try to answer that, John. I guess that's a question I have for the volunteer group. We definitely want to understand and get some direction when we're planning the website redesign about how everybody thinks the community fits into that, and then also engage volunteers to help build and drive community usage. To start and launch the community is, typically about a 3-month process working with Higher Logic. And so I think our initial thinking was, let's try to dovetail this with the new redesign, or perhaps have the new, website launch, and then you can, some people kind of choose to do the community afterwards. it's really up to the organization if they kind of want to release it as a big bang. You know, just curious, as you would get to be more familiar with it and learn how the community could be used, do you see it being one site being released at the same time, being a gradual thing that you get volunteers excited about? I mean, you could actually launch Higher Logic now, you know, onto the current site, and it gets integrated with your AMS. So you could be launching it and building it now, even while we work on the redesign.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback, that really is up to you all. I've seen organizations do it all three ways Nancy sort of outlined. You know, the reality is that if you do the community sooner, it's something your members can benefit right away, because we'll be integrated with your database no matter what. Or you can leverage it together at the same time as your website as a way to help get traction immediately on the new website. Or you can do the website first, and then do the community afterwards. There's advantages to all of them. It's kind of what best fits for you all.
To stay in. The name of your staying. The name of your staying. So she could get it.
I guess, John or Rich or Gail, do you have any thoughts on that, or do you want some time to think about it and we can circle later and talk it through?
I'm sorry, I was distracted by somebody coming into my office. Can you repeat the question? I apologize.
Sure, no problem.
One of the things that...
Oh, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. One of the things that we're trying to figure out, Rich, is whether we should launch the Higher Logic feature now, since it does pull from the existing member data that's in our membership database. We do have the option of launching it now, or we could wait until the actual launch of the website happens this summer, or as a third option, even wait after the launch of the website and let some of the kinks get worked out and then launch Higher Logic. So my vote would be to go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like I'd like to get the web page sort of up and running, that we could go through the Higher Logic, but I still think we need to work through some concerns in terms of workload and stuff like that. Make sure we have the resources to manage the community, that sort of thing. So I think I don't think we have those resolved yet, because we just sort of got into this, and so that's where that's my thought.
I don't know what you were going to say, John, but I agree with Rich. I think there's some logistical issues that probably need to be ironed out. It would be very nice to launch this as a feature with the new website, but I agree that if there's any chance that there might be some kinks with the website, it could be almost introduced as a teaser saying, you know, coming soon, or watch for, you know, our new communities expected to launch, you know, before the end of the year, or whatever the timing happens to be.
Yeah, I'm on the same page there. I would say
right now.
Yeah, definitely not now. Possibly with the website launch this summer. So maybe we could just plan on doing it with the website launch, but then as things get closer, we could revisit this conversation, just so we're all on the same page.
You guys, just to let you know, you guys can go live with the community at any point. We just need that 3-month period, typically at any, you know, at some point to get it built. But, you know, you guys have the ultimate decision, obviously, of when you want it to go live. We just need that time period to actually finish the integration and get everything up and running.
Sure, and I think we'll need to talk about, you know, we need to marshal the resources on both the staff and the volunteer side to make sure we're successful when we do launch it, because it does require some effort and planning and effort to do the launch plan, the launch, and then the sort of immediate post-launch support in the first, say, 3 to 6 months.
Right.
And depending on timing, I mean, the big meeting is in September. It could be a really fun thing to launch the community at the meeting.
That's
Yeah, and you
that's a
can-
great point. It's a great point, Gail.
Yeah.
We have a captive audience of 500 members of our community right there. You know, take out your phone, guys, and join us.
Right,
As a
and
best
you can have
practice-
a community just for people who attended the meeting. You can open it to others. You know, it can drive attendance at your meeting.
I just want to interject really quickly, and this is just something we've learned over time. The best practice is actually to talk about the community, maybe have a screenshot at the meeting, but then don't launch it until actually maybe the day after the meeting is over. We've had some experiences in the past. I'm not entirely too keen on the details of like launching a day of the meeting. There's too much going on at your annual meeting as is to launch something new like this. You guys want to be in your office ready, ready for when it launches. So I would suggest doing it the day after it's over, talking about it, or even before, but just kind of my 2 cents of experience.
I mean, to Gail's point, we could certainly announce it and sort of.
Right.
Yeah. I'll find.
And you know what? We could even have little signs around that just say connect as teasers also.
Right.
You know, or on our badges or whatever.
Right.
Connect with
There's a lot of different adages there too. A lot of clients actually do it beforehand and then use the annual meeting as an opportunity to gain feedback. So there's strategies to all of it, and that one's pretty popular too. Because at the annual meeting, you actually are talking to members who are using it, and then if you need to, you can make adjustments in the software after the meeting once you actually talk to your members about it. But there's a lot of things.
Oh, we got time for that one. Right.
Yeah.
It's a great idea, though, Gail.
Thank you. Can I go home now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have more, we wanted to make sure that those of us working on the web redesign to show this tool to everyone so they could start thinking about it and to get this kind of really good feedback about the timing and how we get it all to work together. So a lot more conversations about the web redesign to come, and you know, more thinking about the community and the role it will play in that. But thank you, Steve, very much for showing us the tool.
My pleasure as always. I will send over the slide deck and the recording when it's done uploading to you, Nancy, and if you want to distribute it to your colleagues, that'd be great.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. If anyone has any questions, let me know. If not, it's been a pleasure interacting with you all, and hope you enjoyed the presentation today.
Thank you. It was really
Thank you.
interesting.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.